you. I'm gonna sue both of you.
Guys, South Park is breaking the internet today. There was a time when we couldn't speak about the name Epstein, but here we are breaking the internet, and we are witnessing a very big event unfolding. And I'm going to try to break things down the best I can. Now, this whole topic is out of my territory when it comes to making content for YouTube, but I'm going to take a stab at it because I find this to be very interesting. I honestly think that Trump is the master of attention, whether it's negative or positive attention. He knows how to keep the focus on him. And does that make him a smart man, or does that make him the master of attention? So if you've been on the internet at any point today, then you know that South Park had their 27th season premiere last night, and they went in hard on Trump. They also went in hard on a lot of his supporters. Whether you support him or not, agree with some of his policies or not, this was a swipe at everyone. So there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes with the Paramount executives, the merger deal with Skydance. And I really want to kind of break down some of this because you have to understand the history of television and television programming. You may have heard things like the old guard is dying. And that truly does, to me, represent the media legacy itself. Because for so long, before the age of the internet, TV had its dominance over the way that we all think and the way that we see the outside world. At 5 or 6 o'clock in the evenings, I'm sure everyone's parents were watching the evening news. 11 o'clock, we have the nightly news, and then again at 7 o'clock in the morning. So over a long period of generations, people have come to trust media as a source of information. And this is at the heart of the strife between Trump and most of these legacy media outlets. So there is a lot of bitterness that has happened here, but most importantly, the back and forth between allowing things to unfold naturally versus trying to control them, and also understanding that the government itself is embedded with media outlets. How do we know this? Well, there's the famous clips from the early 70s when the CIA was being grilled about the Operation Mockingbird, where they could not publicly disclose that they did indeed have agents working within these news agencies. So you have to understand that there's a very tight-knit connection between the government and media outlets when it comes to propaganda, when it comes to controlling the narrative, right? This is really what it's all about. So who is really pulling the levers behind all this? Well, there's a lot of claims going on right now, and I'm going to read a few articles for you live right here on camera. If you go and look right now, it's one of the top most searched topics out there right now on Google Trends. South Park is an animated series. It is not for children. It was mostly shown on Comedy Central, which means this is one of Paramount's channels. They own several different channels, and this happens to be one of them. So South Park was an animated series, is not for children. In fact, its goal seems to be to offend as many people as possible, as it presents the adventures of Stan, Kyle, Kenny, and Cartman. The show has taken on Saddam Hussein, Osama bin Laden, politicians of every stripe, and self-important celebrities. Oh, and Kenny is killed in many of the episodes. Now, this is just an overview from IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes. It has 80% score. And so most of you, like myself, know what South Park is and what it's about. I personally haven't watched it in many years, but it doesn't mean that I've never watched it. So it's very interesting when you look at what is happening right now. USA Today, Daily Briefing, the people of South Park apologize. Kansas City Star, South Park slams Trump. Great, but the show helped make him president. Variety Magazine, White House slams South Park over Donald Trump parody episode. And then we have the Providence Journal. South Park releases season 27. Here's how you can watch. So really and honestly, the negative attention still is a form of attention to, let's just be clear about this. So the understanding of this is bad publicity is still publicity. And that is at the heart of what's going on here. But most importantly, like when you start to look at the symbolism of everything, CBS has an eye. So what is tell a vision? Guys, my whole channel is called Hypnovision. And I understand the hypnosis effect as not only a DJ, but I understand like when I was in school and we used to have to do write-offs, there was this programming effect, right? We repeat something until finally it becomes true. And that is what reality TV has really become now, right? Reality. If you remember MTV in the early 2000s, they had, what was it, Real World, and there was another TV show. I can't even remember now. It's been so long ago. But what people see on TV, they aspire to be. And TV comes into our house. We invite TV into our house. And that's very interesting when you start to look at how all this stuff really affects the human psyche. Because there is a hypnotic effect, right? How many people lost friends over the Trump presidency? How many people lost friends over the Obama presidency? How many people went to war and died over lies that were broadcast all over TV? How much of the truth has been suppressed and then redirected through means of television? This is what the old guard is. The Internet of Things allows people to pick and choose and to have their own influence over the type of content that they create or either consume. And South Park is no different, because the merger deal that just today I think was announced that was approved was $1.2 billion. So South Park made a bunch of money off of Paramount and then turned around and released this episode, which is like the biggest FU back to Paramount Studios. Now, there's a lot of money on the line here, as always, and it really made me start to think about something on a very deep level. When you look at all the mergers that these TV outlets have gone through, it's not just Paramount. Paramount, Viacom, Paramount merging with other companies, and then these endless mergers where it just seems to me to be more about money laundering than anything else. If you are successful in running your business, then you can't stay in business and run a deficit long term. It's just not possible unless you're the government. That makes a lot of sense, right? And when we start to break words down, we start to understand the word government contains the word mental images of the mind, television, mental images of the mind. So there's a line of thinking out there where some people will say that TV will rot your brain out. And I do believe to some extent there is a lot of truth in that. So I'm not trying to take sides here in this. I just looking at this from a logical and a reasonable point of view. The history of Paramount, I think they were, let me see here. I have it pulled up somewhere. I've got a lot of tabs open at the moment. So Paramount is over 100 years old, and they have served as a production company for the sight of thousands of notable movies and TV shows. And they continue to partner with projects of large and small efforts to create celebrated TV shows and commercials. Paramount has a very long history in the movies. Paramount is also very closely related to Star Trek. And if you watched my recent video about Saturn, where I talked about the collective conscious. In Star Trek, there is an alien race known as the Borg. Now, if you've watched Star Trek, then you're probably already familiar with this. The Borg were always trying to assimilate every race. There was a underlying like cybernetics, right? Where where humans have basically come together with machines. Where else have we seen this? The Matrix. So there seems to be this theme that has been embedded in television for a very long time, this merging of technology and this merging of humanity into one. And now, in many ways, I think right now in this very moment about Batman Forever that starred Jim Carrey, where there was this device that went on his head and he was able to beam into other people's minds. You see, they put the truth in plain sight. It is always there for you to see. Now, there is some other lines of thinking out there that believe that people can escape karma by using other people to reveal the truth. Meaning, as long as they themselves don't do it, they won't be held accountable. So, Viacom, CBS, Paramount, Trump, Epstein. This is where things start to get really interesting. Now, I have no personal firsthand knowledge of any of the Epstein stuff that is out there. I couldn't tell you one way or another what is true and what is false. But the Epstein stuff is out there. The ties with Clintons, the ties with the Lolita Express, the Epstein Island, all the stuff about the children. And this is YouTube, and I want to be family friendly here. But one of the biggest things that it led me to understand is the trafficking aspect of things, the blackmailing and honeypot aspect of things. Now, to my knowledge, there is not any video footage of Trump being drunk in public or being under any kind of influence of any kind of drugs in public. There are videos of him saying things that are kind of embarrassing. I will give that up all day long. So I'm not for or against Trump in this situation, but the Epstein stuff is really interesting here because there is direct ties back to the government of our own country and the government of another country. And this is where things get really, really interesting, especially when it ties back to religion and our culture here in the United States. I find that the deeper you look into this, the more strange things really start to become. What really is going on with the whole Epstein thing? What is the deeper significance of all this? Are honeypots real? Well, to be honest, it makes a lot of sense if you're honest with yourself that to hold leverage over someone would be to get them in a compromising position. This is the whole council culture, is it not? If you don't do as I say, I will expose you. If you don't do as I say, we will destroy you. If you don't do as I say, we will dig up all kinds of skeletons out of your closet and we will embarrass you and shame you. And this is where the gang stalking starts to happen, where multiple people will gang up on one person. I myself have experienced this on a very, very small level compared to the national scale of things. It is not fun. It is not something I would wish on anyone. So do I believe that there are these high-end blackmail rings that are going on? I think it's very probable. I think it's probably likely, but I don't have any firsthand knowledge of it. So I don't know for sure. I can't say for sure. But I do know for sure that Epstein is now a mainstream name in our culture. And I do know that Trump, whether it's positive or negative, is the master at harnessing attention. And there are a lot of times where people seem to think that they have got Trump, right? We got him now. There's nothing he can do. And then it blows up in their face. I kind of think about the old cartoons, right? Where Elmer Fudd and Bugs Bunny, it's like it blows up in his face. I got you now, rabbit. And then boom. I do think that in terms of being able to attract negative attention to himself and to bait the media into covering him, ultimately leads to them having things blow up in their face. Now, if there's any truth to the links of the Mockingbird, which supposedly ended years ago, wink, wink, then we understand that the whole ties with the Russiagate stuff, the whole ties with the intel agency itself, because the shadow government aspect of things, and you can say that it's not true, but there are people who are always there no matter what president is. Is that a deer? Okay, sorry about that, guys. I literally was just like, I have French doors right out my window right here, and I literally just saw 2 deer about 20 feet from my back door. So please excuse the interruption. So as I was saying, the connections with the intel agencies, the connections with our government, the connections with news and broadcasting and television is quite apparent once you peel back the curtain, once you lift the veil. Also slight sound manipulation, devil. So to unveil the mysteries of what is hidden behind the curtains. Broadcast is a frequency that you cannot see. Broadcast through the air. All of these things. And once you start to realize the connections with television and how things are embedded into the storylines and how these little subtle nudges push people into a certain way of thinking, you will start to see a much broader picture of reality itself. Now, Trump himself is a reality TV star. There's no way you can escape that. He is well known for his Apprentice TV show. He's been in a whole slew of other movies, and he truly is a reality TV star. So he knows how to play to the camera, so to speak. I find that to be very interesting. I also find something else to be very interesting. Actual imagination, AI, or artificial intelligence coming from the news, created by the intelligence agencies to control a narrative. So the South Park stuff, is it really what it seems to be? Or is it another one of these very deeply, wisely crafted things for attention? Because attention is entertainment, and the word entertainment simply means to bind one's attention. This is why I said Trump is the master of attention. He knows how to bind people's attention, regardless if it's positive or negative. Interesting stuff to think about, guys. I hope everybody has a great day. It is the end of the week. It is Friday. And go look it up for yourself. This is such an interesting rabbit hole for the internet sleuths to start digging into.